Good morning. Hello everyone. Good morning. So today I am launching my YouTube channel. It's actually named Guru09 Social Sciences. Guru is the counterpart of teacher. No? In Jewish tradition, it is also called rabbi. So if you want some lectures on social sciences, ranging from anthropology, philosophy, sociology, from general education subjects, to senior high school, and even qualitative researches. Now you can find it here. Just like and subscribe. Guru09 Social Sciences. So if you ever find this video on YouTube, you just go to the link and then like and subscribe. For today, my discussion will be about foundations of anthropology. Now this will be a series of lecture for cultural anthropology, introduction to cultural anthropology. So for chapter one, an overview, it's about the foundations of anthropology. So expect that there will be succeeding lectures on this, from ethnography to writing a research paper in anthropology, the methods, and all. It could be discussed here. So before we proceed to the realm of anthropology, you need to know what are its foundations. Perhaps it's your first time to hear the word anthropology because anthropology is a social science subject that is not really talked about. No, in fact, people studying anthropology is regarded as a diminishing tribe, no, which means less and less people are studying this subject. So here, let me introduce you to anthropology. What is anthropology? Does it ring a bell? Anthropology comes from two Greek words, human, which is anthropos, and logos, which means reason or word or study. That's why we call it anthropology. Now that's the etymological definition of anthropology. Just like other sciences, there's always an etymological definition, and it's always logi is always there because logi comes from the word logos, which means reason, word, which means study. So in this case, taking into account the definition of anthropos and the definition of logos, you have there anthropology, which means the science of humanity. So science of humanity in its entirety. So when we say entirety, what does it mean? Entirety simply means that it's humanity as a whole. What makes us human? What's our humanity compared to other human in different cultures? So this is what is dealt in anthropology. That's why the scope of anthropology can be spread out to other disciplines as long as there is a human aspect, as long as there is a human person, as long as there is a society, there is anthropology. And we know for the fact that our culture affects everything. Our culture affects everything, as like the structural functionalism, that we are all like body parts. Now culture is kind of heart of it, because our culture dictates usually what we are doing, and what we will do, in the future. Now anthropology is in its approach is holistic and comparative, and it integrates multiple disciplines, and that makes anthropology a unique social science. So holistic because it looks at people in all aspects, in different perspectives, and comparative because in anthropology we try to compare cultures with other cultures without bias. We look at a certain culture, we compare in a way that we do not promote bias, we do not look at who's superior or not, but we compare in order to extract similarities and differences, no? But much more like on similarities. Now, anthropology also studies human diversity across time and space, meaning it's not just this time. that we study humans in anthropology, but we go back also to the history, to the people long time ago. That's why history is very vital also in anthropology. So it's on a different time and on a different space, because we study man in the rural areas, we study man in the urban areas, we study man in seafarers, for example, we study cavemen, we study different human beings in across time, way before today, in the future perhaps, and in different spaces. Now, anthropology also is unique because it's the only social science that dwells also, or that acknowledges also biological sciences. Because as what you've seen in television, we have archaeologists, we have biological anthropologists, who looks at the patterns of DNA, and then also try to prove that we came from ape-like creatures. These are in the realms of anthropology. Survival of the fittest, for example, the way how is our makeup now, how do we look like, our muscles, our physical characteristics. Anthropologist does not look at culture, but also it looks at its biology. Biology makeover, no? And they connect that biological makeup to how they lived before. Like for example, the formation of teeth, the formation of teeth, for example. Now, from the formation of teeth, an anthropologist could tell if what's the diet of these persons before. Were they vegetarian? Were they carnivorous? It could be seen on the teeth. That's why archaeologists, when they try to dig up bones, and they were able to retrieve teeth, usually when they look at the teeth, and then they can also, these people or this tribe from long ago are not carnivorous. They are vegetarian or vegan. They're all vegan. So it can be seen on the teeth. Now I'd say that in anthropology there's also a consideration about some biological factors. Yeah? So now, what's with anthropology? There are key figures. Who are the people behind anthropology? Of course, when we say key figures in anthropology, we look at its history and how it has become like this today. So for example, one of the proponents of anthropology is the very familiar, the very famous, my grandfather, Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin, who was there around, who was in the world, was alive around 1809 to 1882. All of us knew him, from the stories of the Homo erectus, the Homo habilis, the evolution of man. Charles Darwin is the proponent of the theory of evolution. In this theory of evolution, he had mentioned about natural selection. Now, natural selection provided a framework for understanding human diversity and adaptation, based from the experience of Charles Darwin, wherein he was able to figure out from the different Galapagos Islands, the same species in a certain island to another island. However, there were differences in their physical characteristics, because people tend to adapt, and with natural selection, people also know, the weak usually is being consumed by the strong ones. That's why it's when you say natural selection, it's also survival of the fittest. Now, that is what happened long time ago. The weak tribes are being consumed by the stronger tribes. So this framework of Charles Darwin on natural selection, on understanding human diversity and adaptation, had a very big impact in anthropology, in the beginnings of anthropology. So that's why you have there in his book, The Origin of the Species, and in The Descent of Man. So if you want to know more about these stuffs, if you want to know more about how did Charles Darwin conceived the evolution of man, the origin of our species, you gotta read him. You gotta read his works, because it's in their work, it's in his work that you can really understand a very logical presentation of how we become like this. It's not that the apes that we have now they become man. No, it's a long process, and it comes generation to generation to generation. Yeah. So if you want to know more, you can search Google and ask about Charles Darwin, no, because Charles Darwin is there. Okay. Then another figure, key figure is Edward Burnett Tyler. Edward Burnett Tyler, 1832 to 1917. Is another grandfather. No, he extended Darwin's ideas to societies. So from the evolution of man, from the handyman to Homo sapien, you know, from that concept of Charles Darwin, Tyler extended this idea to societies. So how did he do it? How did how did Tyler do it? Hmm? He said that it's a progress from a primitive to civilized, meaning from a primitive society, from a foraging type of society, until such time that they become civilized. Now they started to domesticate animals and to plant, no, agriculture, and then industrializations and all, no, from primitive to civilized. So Tyler also has a view on religion as it's originating from the belief in spirits. Yeah, I think we would also agree, you know, because most of our religion usually came from uh, indigenous. No? Even the biggest religion, no, Christianity, it has started from Jewish tradition, and much of religions really has its roots to tradition, no? And tradition, of course, we cannot do away with the spirits. There are spirits from trees and all, no. So it was Tyler who really started this view, no, on religion, as it originates from beliefs in spirits. So and its implication for, non-Western societies. No, Western societies um, also believe that this civilized, that they are the ones civilized, and those from the global south are the ones who are primitive. That's why today, in our world today, we have the global south, and we have these developed countries, and of course we look at them as civilized, highly developed, while from the global south we are primitive. We will always be primitive compared to them, especially in their eyes, okay? Because they look at everything from their lens. So this originated from Tyler. Another uh, anthropologist is one of the fathers is Franz Boas, from 1858 to 1942. So Franz Boas, from this primitive and civilized concept, from the survival of the fittest, the stronger culture annihilates the weak culture. Franz Boas said that he challenged, the ethnocentric views. Ethnocentrism. Now, what is ethnocentrism? Ethnocentrism is the belief that our culture is superior than others. We believe that we are correct and they are wrong. Now, these are ethnocentric views. And during those times, because of the different concepts of survival of the fittest, because of the concept of primitive to civilized, people believe that their culture is superior than others. No, that's why during those times, it's like the online game, the Command and Conquer, tribes conquering other tribes. Yeah, and then there's an ethnocentrism, that each culture believe that they are superior. No? Now, Franz was the first one to advocate cultural relativism. No? cultural relativism, no, he said that he believed that each culture should be viewed based on his culture. It should not be based from other culture. You have to look at a certain culture using the lens of that culture, not the lens of other culture. Because if you look at it at the lens of other culture, that culture would always be wrong. Yeah? So culture for Franz Boas is culture was, and until now, culture is relative. That it it depends. You know? If this is right in this kind of culture, it could be wrong on the other culture, or their practice of a certain value in this culture may be different from their practice of the same value in another culture, since culture is relative. No? So he also emphasized historical and cultural factors over biological determinism. So he believed that the social construct of a person does not depend on biology. No? We are not determined, no? And instead, our growth, the way we are today, should be a result from the events that happened in the past, and the cultural factors. Because our teeth would not be, or our physique would be like this because of our cultural factors. No? And we are like this, like the Philippines today, we are like this because of our history. So for him, it's not the biological influence is there, but much of the influence came from historical and cultural, instead of biological determinism. Yeah. So this is Franz Boas, around 1858 to 1940. Another one is my Ludi, my idol. So Bronislaw Malinowski. Now, Malinowski's contribution, is he added a a method in anthropology. A method, um, not all social sciences know, but this is more common in anthropology, and sociology. It's participant observation. Participant observation. This is a method wherein you participate in the community. You act like them. You join them in their activities. So that in that way, you'll be able to have their mindset. You'll be able to have their ideas, their concept. And once you get this perspective, you look at things the way these people look at things. So that's participant observation. So this participant observation thing, came from his discussion, from his work, his research work in the Trobriand Islanders. Wherein he spent so many years. He spent many years in this island to live with the people in this island, and to learn their language, to learn their culture. So that's participant observation. So during his time, he supported colonial governance through practical anthropology. What does it mean? During the time of Malinowski, since it was during the time of conquers, time of colonization, he proposed that you have to study first, the different cultures. And by knowing this different culture, colonial governance should adjust to that culture, to what is acceptable for that culture. So instead of the colonial government to directly impose some laws, we have to look at how they live. We have to look at how can we adapt their culture for them to say yes, to the our governance. That is one of the uh, influence of Malinowski. That's why He is one of the proponents, no? Especially in participant observation and ethnography. Another is Levi Strauss. No? He's a founder of 1908 to 2009. Levi Strauss is the founder of structuralism. He focuses on universal structures of human thought. Okay, so he believed that, excuse me, different cultures may have different practices, may have different perspectives, but from these differences, there is something universal. No? There is something universal, and for Levi Strauss, this universality is binary, no? Meaning, in different cultures there exists good and evil. In different culture there exists nature and culture, binary, no? So these are the concepts of universality that Levi Strauss was actually proposing. There are different cultures. However, with these different cultures, they may have different mindsets, they may have different structures, but there is a universal structure of human thought. And Levi Strauss said it should be, or from his studies, from his research, from his ethnographic works, he believed that this is binary. You know? The universal thoughts are binary. You know? That's why a certain culture has its own concept of good and evil. Another culture may have its own concept of good and evil. Another culture may have different also. But in the end, there is only two universalized concepts there. The concept of good and evil. Binary, good and evil. And not only in the context of good and evil, but other contexts. There are also other contexts that support. So these are very known people. No? These are very known people in anthropology. No? However, uh, contradicting these theories of evolution, there's also a contradiction, no? That also came out from that time, especially that during that time, no, our religion was very strong, especially Christianity. So there was also a theological perspective on humanity. So if we have the evolution of man, religion or theology, theological perspectives are also there. Like humans, the key points are humans as creations of God and made in His image. So it's something very theological and very spiritual that we are creations of God, made in His image, and that there is a distinction from evolutionary perspectives. We are created, no? We did not evolve, according to theology. And theological perspectives on humanity, it also emphasizes on spiritual and moral dimensions. Moral, what is right and what is wrong. No? And aside from that, since theologically it is deemed that man is the crown of creation. So since man is the crown of creation, human also have the responsibilities toward the environment. So it's our responsibility to take care of the environment because it's our common home. We live here, they live here, animals live here, and we live here because we are comfortable, we have air because of the trees, and everything is in balance. So humans being superior in the creation of this divine, no, according to your theology, we have also a duty to take care of the environment. So these are the theological perspectives. Then, like any other discipline, anthropology also has four main subfields. No? And by the way, today it's already five. No? It's already five. I did not put it here because this is an emerging concept. Emerging concept, though it's actually being done, but it's an emerging. No? So four main subfields. You have biological anthropology. So Biological anthropology deals about human evolution, genetics, and adaptation. So you look at the DNA structure, um, how we evolved from lower forms to higher forms, how we become intelligent uh, across time, how our physique became like this from ape-like creatures, how we adapted, and how was it uh, replicated or being written, in our genes. This is in biological anthropology. Now I remember when I was still studying, since this is one of the subject, the first three chapters it was really very hard for me, because those were hardcore science, no hardcore biology, talking about meiosis and all, no cell about the function of the cell, eukaryotic, all those stuffs, no. So it was hard for me to really know. The first three chapters was really very, very hard. I have to ask help, ask help. Another subfield is linguistic anthropology. So linguistic anthropology is the deals about language in social and cultural context. So language does not exist only because of language itself, but language is there because of its social and cultural context. No? Culture is married with language, because culture will never exist without language, because language is the method of communication. And as a method of communication, since it is only a method, language is anchored in culture. Language is anchored in social dimensions. That's why it's also being studied in anthropology, linguistic anthropology. Another is archaeology. Now this is the traditional way of looking at anthropologists. These are the anthropologists that study about the past societies through material remains. So they are those who dig up bones and who try to excavate historical places to somehow have a glimpse of the past. And of course, those artifacts and those fossils, those antiques that have been retrieved are the basis of the past. No? That's archaeology. Another is cultural anthropology, which is actually our main focus on this lecture, cultural anthropology. It deals about social patterns, practices, and cultural differences. No? So in cultural anthropology, we look at people, we look at different culture, how their social is, how their society functions, what are their practices, and what are their cultural differences. So from ethnography to ethnology. So ethnography deals about the writing of a certain specific culture. So it's one specific culture you write in ethnography, while ethnology compares these ethnographic accounts of different cultures, comparative, and look at their similarities and differences. So in this case, most of the cultural anthropologists use ethnography as a method, to learn about a specific culture. And in this specific culture also, participant observation is needed. Just like Malinowski, that he stayed with the Trobriand Islanders for several years. Cultural anthropology, anthropologists in cultural anthropology also uses this kind of methodology. So now the emerging subfield of anthropology is applied anthropology. What is applied anthropology? Using these four subfields in other disciplines, in different disciplines, applying the concepts learned and the methods learned from anthropology to other disciplines, other emerging disciplines. Like for example, you have forensic anthropology, using anthropology to describe how the situation of the crime. These are applied anthropologists. So that's actually the fifth one. There are four, but there is an emerging fifth, which is applied anthropology. So let's try to discuss them one by one. So we have here biological anthropology. So biological anthropology, its focus area is human evolution and fossils, yeah? Genetics and adaptation to environments, primatology, and human biological plasticity. It focused on areas of biological anthropology, human evolution, genetics, and adaptation. So by looking at and by studying fossils, it can inform us about our human ancestors, how they have lived. No? Example of a biological anthropology is paleoanthropology, no, and the study of human fossils. Even excuse me, even the concept of dinosaurs, no, in relation to man has been seen, no, in paleoanthropological studies. So that's biological anthropology. And then you have linguistic anthropology. Its focus areas are language origins and evolution of language. Today we already have the Sword speak, and gay language. You have also the different languages, from different groups. And then you have also social variation in language use. A certain language in different uses when it's colloquial or when it's formal. No? And you also have descriptive and structural linguistics. An example of this is social linguistics and language used in different social contexts. So in a party or in a hanging out place, you use language differently, even though if it's the same meaning and it's the same language actually. Okay, so um, in archaeology, its focus areas is more on the analysis of material remains from past cultures. It's reconstructing human behavior and cultural patterns based on the material remains from the past. An example of this is like the study of ancient pottery to understand trade systems. So if a certain place is identified to be a barter area before, there's a possibility that when you try to dig those places, you can find some uh, trade money and other materials that will lead us to really understand more what had happened in that area, before. And of course, these are rooted from the material remains that can be digged, in that area. Another is cultural anthropology. I discussed this already a while ago. Ethnography, focus on ethnography, the writing, in-depth study of cultures, and ethnology, the comparative study of cultural data. An example of this is fieldwork among indigenous communities. So if you see, I think in National Geographic, many people goes to live with indigenous people. Now, these are cultural anthropology. However, cultural anthropology nowadays that's not really focused. Yeah, it's one of its focus, but uh, it goes out already. No, it goes out already. It's applied because sometimes cultural anthropology look at the culture of rural people, of urban people, not necessarily indigenous people, but people with different cultures. No, people that are indigenous, not only the indigenous people, but also indigenous communities like fishing communities, agricultural communities, urban poor communities. These are still indigenous communities. Okay, so that's cultural anthropology. Now, because of these four, several special fields of anthropology arises. The special fields of anthropology we could now call as applied anthropology. So you have here anthropology of religion, you have gender studies, urban anthropology, medical anthropology, food and nutrition. There are so many special fields of anthropology. In fact, my turf is on the anthropology of fishing communities. So though these are different fields, each special field applies anthropological methods to specific areas. So different fields, but the same method, which is ethnography. That's why when you say anthropology, it should be ethnography. There's no other field work. There's no other method used by anthropologists but ethnography. So if not, you're not from the discipline and you are going to look at a work of an anthropologist, have a background of ethnography first, so that you can fully understand what the anthropologist is saying. Yeah. So you have anthropology of religion, studies of religions in cultural and historical context, exploration of rituals, myth, prophecy, and more. So looking at the different kinds of religions, how they look at how they see life based on their faith. Example, the role of religion in social justice movements. Applied, it's an applied, no, but it has its roots in the study of religions. So that's one. Another is gender studies in anthropology. So um, in this special field, anthropology studies about the relationship between sex and gender. Also, the cultural significance of gender in various societies. No? Gender roles, gender relations, gender equality, no, and all. No, these are things being studied in the gender studies in anthropology. No? Example is gender roles in patriarchal societies versus matriarchal societies. So what's the role of women in patriarchal societies, and what's the role of women in matriarchal societies in across different cultures? No? So that's gender studies. These are applied anthropology. No? You also have urban anthropology. It studies about people, cultural systems, and identities in cities. So urban life, impact of global processes during the time of globalization, and how this impacted people in the urban areas, urban life, the urban poor. Example of this is example are the studies on homelessness and social movements in urban settings. So homelessness and social movements. These are just example, and there are so many. When you go to the city, you try to live in these urban areas. You can write so many paper. No? You can write so many paper because you can see different problems, and yeah, impact of globalization. Okay. Another is medical anthropology. So medical anthropology examines health, illness, and healing practices in different cultural contexts. No? So understanding cultural beliefs about health in improving public health interventions is one. No? In different cultures, they have their own way, using herbal medicine, using belief in traditional barang and all, no? And how they impacted their illness, how it made their body well. No? However, since it is what is being practiced in the rural areas, governance, public government should also take a look at it, you know, and find a way not to inform public health interventions on how to do things, and so that there would be a marriage, no? A complementary between traditional healing practices versus modern medicine. No? So whether we like it or not, in here in our places, in our rural areas, no? In our rural areas, no, people, since hospitals are far away, they tend to go first to use herbal medicine or traditional medicine with the traditional doctors. No, we call it as the quack doctors. Yeah. Then after medical anthropology, you have also anthropology of food and nutrition. Now, this is the study of food as a central aspect of social and cultural life. Now, it explores how food production, distribution, and consumption reflect broader social and economic structures. So, food anthropology, no? And nutrition anthropology. No, so it looks at the cultural and social aspects of food production. So, for example, it reminds me of a study that is still in my mind. No? Here in the southern Leyte, Philippines, one of the common catch of fisher folks is sardine. One time when I attended a fisheries management plan, one consultant said, "How about if you study the cultural significance of sardine?" in southern Leyte. Wow, that's good. Yeah. So from the food, you go now to culture, cultural significance. No? Because how does the sardine really help southern Leyte in terms of food security, in terms of economic stability, and all? What is its cultural significance? So that is under actually of anthropology of food and nutrition. Another example here is the symbolic importance of food in religious rituals. How does what is the role of food in religious rituals? Like for the Catholics, during November 1 and November 2, food is being offered there, in the cemetery. What is its importance? Why is it there? So these are things not being studied here in anthropology of food and nutrition. So basically, these special fields are actually applied anthropology. So you have the four subfields a while ago, and these different kinds of fields are applied anthropology. And you know what? There are still a lot out there. There are still a lot out there of applied anthropology. Using the lens of anthropology, using the methods of anthropology, applying it to the different aspects of human existence. That is applied anthropology. Okay, so as a conclusion, anthropology's comprehensive approach to understanding humanity. You can look at that. Very comprehensive because it looks at culture, it lives with culture. And anthropology integration of biological, social, and cultural perspectives. So that's why it's multidisciplinary. It's an integration. And then its importance of studying human diversity across different contexts. To end, anthropology provides a holistic perspective on what it means to be human, what it means to be us. Anthropology provides a holistic perspective. Okay, so I have here guides, questions for discussions. If you wanna know more about it, if you want to answer these questions on your own, you can write it, no? Or if you have questions also, you can put it down in the comment section and expect me to give you an answer to that. But before that, I would like to remind everyone, those who have not yet subscribed, no, and like to this channel, if you like more of this content, more of this discussion, like and subscribe. Okay? Thank you everyone and have a pleasant day ahead of all of us.